officially want to welcome everyone to the IPC Education Foundation webinar series. This is the exciting one we've been looking forward, presented by Calumet Electronics, talking about intern to CEO and what your career might look like in the electronics manufacturing industry. We have a spread of presenters, all representatives at Calumet on the call. I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves. And as you all know, I have Erin Burney, Education Program Manager, here with us, who will be managing the Q&A afterwards. So if you have any questions during the presentation, I think it's going to be a two-way opportunity and webinar. So please engage. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Or if you don't, you can always use the chat room to have Erin support you with that. So welcome, everyone. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, and let's hear from the wonderful folks at Calumet, a wonderful partner in support of the Michigan Tech IPC Student Chapter.
Hi, my name is Paige. I have been an intern at Calumet Electronics for the past 10 months. Kyle, do you want to go next? You're on mute.
Solid. Yeah, my name's Kyle Hillstead. I'm a process engineer here. I've had 2 internships at Calumet, and I've been full-time since May.
I'm Audra Thurston. I started as an intern in the summer of 2017, and then I was hired full-time when I graduated with my degree in chemical engineering in 2018. I started as a process engineer, and I recently transitioned into R&D engineering manager within the last month or so.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Meredith Lebeau. I am the Director of Processing, Manufacturing, and R&D Engineering at Calumet. I started at Calumet 8 years ago. I have a PhD from Michigan Tech in Environmental Engineering, Water Quality Engineering, which I'm sure has nothing to do with, you would assume has nothing to do with printed circuit boards or electronics, but everything needs water and we need to treat water. So that was my inlet into the industry, and you have chosen a perfect time to join a growing industry that now has an opportunity that you can create the future that you want, where you are going to have anything at your disposal to be whoever you want, unlike all the other places that seem sexy, but you're just going to stay in a box.
Good morning or afternoon, everybody. My name is Todd Brassard. My position at the company is I'm the Vice President and Chief Operations Officer. That means that I am responsible for the general kind of overall day-to-day operations. I kind of coordinate the activities. Actually, a circuit board shop has a lot of different departments and roles and responsibilities, and really it's the department heads that manage each of those departments. My job is to kind of try to make sure that we're all working from the same playbook, and we're all developing plans and having kind of that consensus of what we're doing as a company. I'm 50 years old. I graduated from Michigan Technological University in 1993, I believe, with a degree in electrical engineering. If I had stayed around and taken 17 more credits, I would have also had a degree in computer science, but I was just done with school. My education is electrical engineering, but most of my trade, most of the work that I've done in my life has been with software engineering, computer programming, systems interfacing, trying to make things talk to other things. I did not set out to be in the electronics industry. I did not set out to be in printed circuit boards. No one ever does, which is interesting. Maybe your generation will be the first generation that actually does that intentionally. We kind of consider it a black hole. It kind of sucks you in and you never escape. I was originally a contractor, so at this point in time, I owned a business, or when I started 20 years ago, I owned a business and we were a contractor, and we did a lot of work for Calumet Electronics. We supported their network systems, their networking. I was a software developer. I developed the first, I wrote the software, which was the first quality testing database here, which took all of the testing from a paper platform to an electronic platform 20 years ago. I developed, I backwards engineered our ERP system. That sounds for what? Enterprise Resource Management, I believe, which is the big software that runs the entire company. I backwards engineered the quoting module so that we could do a quote in 20 minutes instead of a quote taking 3 days. I eventually had an opportunity to join the company, and I was attracted to that at the time. This would have been 16 years ago. I've served in my time here as a programmer, I had a short stint as a process engineer. I don't know if I ever told Meredith that. And then I eventually did just a lot of software work. And then we reorganized the company in 2013. And as part of that reorganization, I was given the opportunity to stop bitching about management and start being the management that was being complained about. It's quite a different perspective. And so I've been in this role for about eight or 9 years or so. And the primary focus that I've really had during that time is we're a 53-year-old company. Nobody remembers what we were doing 53 years ago or 40 years ago. But what I do know is that when I became part of the management team, we had a real focus on capitalization. I don't know if you know what that means, but we were buying a lot. Our focus was getting the capital equipment that we needed, very expensive equipment, millions and millions of dollars of capital equipment. And when I took over operations, my focus was to shift that focus from machinery to people. We had a great machine set, but what we needed was a lot of talented people to do what we wanted to do with the company. And my first strategic hire was Meredith Lebeau. And she really demonstrated that somebody that is intelligent, that is capable of learning and capable of organizing and developing strategies, who's very, very strong in strategies, who's very strong in implementation, that when you hire the right people, you can move mountains. Audra was one of our more recent examples. I'm looking at her, she's here on my screen. She came in accidentally. She didn't care where she worked. She just wanted a job to stay in the UP because it's beautiful here. And she found an industry that was interesting, a lot more fun than toilet paper and diapers at high volume. And she saw a never-ending lineup of problems that needed to be solved. And I think that attracted her to it. And now she is in just 2.5 years, maybe. I don't know if it's 3.5 or 2.5 anymore.
Two.
Thank you. Yeah. She is. I'm quite certain she is working on some of the foremost technologies that are not only happening in the United States but happening globally. And she's leading that charge as a young person, which is rare and interesting. And we want a lot more young people like her, to allow the United States to really be capable and have some amount of supremacy in electronics manufacturing like it did, 25 years ago. So it's a really long way.
And I think that kind of captures, yeah, and it really captures the title of what this this webinar is about. It's a funny title, Intern to CEO. I don't know if I know how to go from an intern to a CEO, but right now we have a host of interns here that started as interns, right? And now have progressed, one's still an intern, and then the others have progressed into engineering status, process engineering, to Audra, newly titled as a manager of R&D. And what I think is important is that, as I want to reiterate, is that the electronics industry is open and ready for smart, young, talented individuals who are ready to drive forward with not only the book smarts, but with the street smarts to be able to solve problems rapidly and execute on new technologies and existing technologies to feed what is going to be the resurgence of American manufacturing. There's even DoD language that's trying to support the onshoring back. That's in the new National Defense and Authorization Act. We're all primed now as an industry to bring it back to the United States and take over. And it's going to be on the backs of young workforce like you, which is super exciting. You don't want to get into a career where it's just going to be the same old thing. You're stuck in your box and you're designing something in a computer all day long. You have every opportunity to be hands-on and solve these problems. And it starts like these people you're looking at as an internship. We really believe the internship is a strong program. We look to Michigan Technological University to support it and give these people careers, not jobs. And that's what you're looking for when you go forward, is a career that you can transition from the intern to the engineer to the manager to the director to eventually the CEO, if that's what you want to desire, because the industry is ripe for that talent.
I absolutely agree with that. I'm actually, there's a couple of slides I think we could show you. Meredith, you want to find the slides on the, what's the thing I'm looking for the DoD audit, or the Department of Commerce audit, the workforce slide?
Yep, I'll be up in just a second.
Okay, that we're educating and showing people. You know, having a career is really what you make of it. You know, I teach a rock camp for kids, and so I have an opportunity to work with, you know, teenagers and such up to the college level. We have strong intern programs here, or at least they've definitely gotten better over the last 5 years. At one point, we took on 12 interns at once. That was a bit challenging to keep up. But you know, it's interesting. So the topic is intern to CEO. You know, I'm one step away from CEO. I don't know that I'd want to be the CEO, because I think the higher you get in a company, the farther you are potentially from the day-to-day operations. That seems backwards. But as a CEO and even as a COO in my job, because many of the things I do are kind of CEO-like activities, you spend so much time looking where the industry is going, trying to understand the market, trying to understand what your competition is doing. You can begin to lose touch a little bit with some of the stuff you love. I'm a programmer, and when I get to program, rarely these days I go home feeling great. But as a manager, as an upper manager, I go home with a headache depending on how many meetings I had that day, and then how much output it was that day. And you know, you miss the hands-on, you miss those opportunities to you know, sit down and do your work and get the hands dirty. And I would not give up for a minute the things that you get to learn as an intern, the things that you get to learn in your first job, and the hands-on and getting your hands dirty. I think that's what Audra found herself attracted to and she's good at.
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to remember, is the title of this is Intern to CEO, but it's also not just about the title in your job. You know, it's not about, to me, and I think to a lot of people, it's not about climbing that career ladder to get the title. It's about, are you enjoying the work that you're doing? And are you feeling challenged? And are you feeling like you're making progress? So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. It's not just, how do I get to be manager in 5 years? It's, am I enjoying my job? Do I feel challenged? Do I feel like I'm making a contribution?
One of the, hey, Mayor, could you stop sharing for just a second, so that, yeah. One of the things that I learned slowly over time is that there's a big difference between wanting a title and actually doing the work to earn that title. Young people make a mistake. It's very common. I think we all make it. And it's that you want a job, or you want a position, or you want to be important, or you want to you know, just climb the ladder as fast as you can. And that's possible. You know, some people have enough charisma, or you can get just enough of the right stuff that they can do the climbing. But it's so much better if you do the work, and then those positions come naturally, because you've done the trench work. You've learned the things that you need to learn to be a capable manager at some point. You know, well, we had one student come in, and his degree from Michigan Tech from business is going to be in, I believe it was business management. He was getting a degree in business management. what is that? I mean, what, you're going to graduate from school and you're going to go manage a business? With what experience? With what mass and inertia that you have learned through life's experiences that you are ready to weather the storm of dealing with all of the complexities that come with, managing a business, managing people. I used to say, if we didn't have any people working here, this place would be really easy to manage, right? Because people make everything happen, and they make everything not happen, sometimes too. So I completely agree with Audra. Where Audra has demonstrated talent, she's a very, very interesting person in that she has never been in a rush to be a leader. She's never been in a rush. She's only been in a rush to do the work. But because she's done the work, she has earned everybody's respect as a leader, right? If she set out to be a leader, neat. You're probably not going to be great. If you do the work and somebody says, wow, you are doing great work, we need you to lead this and this, that's the better path. I could hog this whole thing. I'm a long talker. So we have, Meredith was talking a little bit about what's going on in industry specifically, and some of the opportunities. And we can talk about the opportunities by showing what the Department of Commerce and the Navy has identified what the problems are.
All right. So this is a little bit of a dated survey, and that's what we're trying to transform. And I think that's, a lot of the reason that the IPC Educational Foundation came into fruition as well, and as a strong support, is that there is a domestic problem. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have offshored a lot of our electronics and our electronic R&D off to low-cost countries in the world. And this has really hastened the ability for the United States to develop new capabilities and capacities for the DoD. And this is then coupled with an aging workforce and not finding new people to enter into the electronics arena. And this is not, we're a circuit board manufacturer, but this also is in design and assembly as well. This is across the board. Geez Louise. Okay, and so a lot of these top issues you're going to see here is that an aging workforce, right? That's always workers' skills and retention. That always comes up as one of the largest challenges. And when we look at it as kind of a whole, where is the industry really having issues? And this is still felt today. Todd and I get into a lot of conversations about how can the DoD support the United States. And one of the questions is how do we educate and train the workforce? And Michigan Tech is an example right now. And that program at Michigan Tech, with its class structure that Dr. Middlebrook has put together, that has now design, assembly, and manufacturing, that is being replicated, trying to be replicated across about 13 universities in the United States through governmental funding, through another transactional authority, to start to put people into these really needed positions that are going to support the DoD today and in the next 10 years. Our technology is increasing at rapid rates, from phased array radars to all different antenna systems, to any kind of RF application. But we need the smarts of the people, and we need them to be qualified and educated. And so we have hiring and retention challenges. And that's why it's so interesting that you can get in as an intern or as an early career engineer or operator or technician to kind of change this atmosphere and say, no, we are the future. We are the next generation who are going to propel the workforce forward and help attract workers. We have a large pot here at Calumet of young workforce, and they're excited because they found in here, I do believe, and you guys should chime in, a career, and they found opportunity. And that's what the industry is ripe for. There's careers and opportunities, and we're ready to turn this around. This is an opportunity. This is not a problem. That's why we have to look at it. And where is it really, where are really the issues? A lot of it is your CAM engineering. Who's going to take that data and process it? Long go the days of design for manufacturing. Let's design with manufacturing. Let's develop solutions together. You guys are the next generation that are going to support developing that solutions so that you can climb the status and develop the technology to climb the status within the company. Then process engineers and so forth. So you see that there is lots and lots of opportunity within the industry.
Okay.
I think that's pretty, you know.
Yeah, high level read. Okay, let me try to find my share button here. Okay, let's see if I got this right. I want to talk just for a second. I want to talk about why this matters, why you're needed. Can everybody see that, Meredith?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a presentation that we are giving to the top defense primes in the country. We've given this presentation to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. We just got off a call not more than an hour ago with L3 Harris. Right? These are the top government contractors for aerospace and defense. And here's why we have such a strong need. I'm going to be honest, because we're losing to China. We're losing to Asia. The United States is not capable of the production capability or capacity in electronics. Over the last 20 years, we have lost it, and we want to bring it back. We're not against globalization. You know, we're not opposed to every country needs to do what they want to do, but the United States needs to bring something to the table. They need to provide competitive options and alternatives to the globe and to itself, to not be reliant on other countries. And the only way that we're going to do that is we got to get talent back into this industry. We've got to rebuild the talent base. What this chart shows, I don't know if anybody can figure out this chart, but capacity says how much is something you can make, and capability is saying how complex can it be. So Asia, up in the upper right here, they're basically, the iPhone represents kind of the pinnacle of mass manufactured and technology and capability and capacity. The United States, we can operate down here, but we can't operate up here, right? And now we have prime contractors, right? These are the top organizations, the top OEMs in the United States. They want to be able to have a supremacy of technology. We want the best technologies to come out of the United States, but we can't manufacture them here right now in any kind of true volume at true complexity, right? And so we want to be up here at these low capacities, which is challenging, because how do you manufacture something at low capacity and make enough money? But to do that in the United States, we need to do capital investment. But here it is: attract talent and expertise to manufacturing. That's going to be you guys. We also have a huge cybersecurity issue that is emerging as well. Okay, but let me see if I can advance this slide. Okay, so let me be specific and technical for a minute. Right now, the United States, using its traditional subtractive manufacturing processes, can produce 75 microns and above, or 3 mils. That's how tiny we can make the circuits. Asia is kicking our butts. They can get down to 30 microns using something called MSAP, modified semi-additive process, and they're doing this every day. It's the iPhones and it's the Androids. I don't know how many devices you guys have in your pockets right now, but it's coming out of Asia and it's using Asia technology, and we cannot manufacture that in the United States. But we need to do something about that, right? We need a leapfrog technology. We need to do something that lets us get really small, and we need to be able to do higher levels of technology as a result of that, because smaller is better. We don't have time to talk about why, but the US can do 75 microns. Look at how much smaller China can build today. And this is where Calumet Electronics is running, right? We are looking to offer a technology to the world that can't be produced in Asia right now, right? This is just good old-fashioned innovation and competitiveness, okay? And then, of course, next generation technologies, we need to be down to the 5 micron. Here's an example. Here's some actual photos. 75 micron, these circuit patterns is what the US can produce today, all day, every day. But the second you drop that down to 1 mil, suddenly we have a problem. We can't produce these. These pictures are actually courtesy of the Navy that we're working with. And they have an imaging machine that can get their manufacturing process actually down to 12.5 microns, or a 36% increase in density.
So
And
to kind of draw it back to the topic of, starting in your career, I'll just talk a little bit about how I transitioned, because this is actually what I'm working on, what Todd is talking about right now. This
how do I stop?
leapfrog technology is something that I've gotten the opportunity to work on as a very young engineer. I'm only 2.5 years into my full-time job. And that just kind of goes to show that no matter what level you're at, if you're contributing good engineering skills and thought processes, you can contribute to these big issues that are facing our industry currently. I definitely don't know everything there is to know about circuit boards, but yet I'm working on this cutting edge technology. And I think that all goes back to approaching every problem with a very systematic engineering mindset and being open to learning from other people, but also keeping an open mind. That's an advantage that everyone on this call has right now, is you haven't been jaded yet. You haven't been shut down and told no. You have a wide imagination because you don't know what's not possible. So you can take a lot of these new technologies and think a little bit outside the box while leaning on more experienced people to kind of draw you in and lean on their experience to make it possible.
And I think that's a good point, Audra, is as someone in college, take those internships, take those opportunities, and speak to your managers, speak to the other engineers, and take that time to really learn and take in their advice. I think that was a huge component of my summer with Calumet, was talking to Audra, talking to Kyle, talking to Todd. I even got to sit down with the CEO, Steve Vairo, and just having their advice about what they did in their career and what they've worked on, I think really helps you learn.
I think what's,
Do each of you have,
go ahead.
okay, I was just gonna ask if each of you had a piece of advice for someone in college in their early 20s looking at the career ahead of them.
I could start, I guess, as someone that recently graduated, my biggest piece of advice is
And all the possibilities.
Really look at the company culture, which I know is kind of a cliche thing everyone always tells you, but make sure that you fit in the company, because for me, I really enjoyed the small company that Calumet is. I enjoyed that kind of less formal atmosphere. Paige mentioned she gets to talk to the CEO of our company as an intern. That's not always possible everywhere else. But there are drawbacks to smaller companies. You might not have as many opportunities because the opportunities are limited. You might not have as great of movement. There's not multiple facilities you can go to move around. So I think that's a really important thing when you're looking, is how are you going to fit? How do the managers you're going to work under, what are their philosophies? Do you feel like you could fit in here and grow here?
Along with culture, another thing I think about is having the fear not to fail, to try new things. I graduated with a master's and bachelor's in environmental engineering and was familiar with industrial wastewater treatment. But now I've moved on to the metallization and copper plating processes. And it's a whole new field that, there's chemistry and fluid dynamics in it, but everything else involved was brand new to me. And that's what I've been working on since I've started here full time, and I love it. It's tons of room to learn. I've got the circuit board handbook, and that thing is dense. It's like 2,000 plus pages, and I've read a good chunk of it, and I've reread it. I have it all marked up. I have a bunch of sticky notes in it to go back to certain things, because there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to remember when doing these things, and you're not going to know it all right off the back of your hand. And so you got to be willing to learn and not be afraid to, again, ask those other engineers, ask the managers what to do, or if you're doing something wrong or right. I know I ask a lot of questions. A few of our engineers will run away sometimes because they're like, oh, here comes kind of another question, but it's usually valid.
You know, it's interesting. When we hire a new person, it's challenging because what do you really know about somebody when you hire them? You know, sometimes people that should have a lot of potential just disappoint, and sometimes people that you prejudged as being a person that just, you know, is going to be real average, they surprise you. And as a manager, it always makes you question whether or not you know what you're talking about when you're trying to assess people. I mean, at the end of the day, when we hire somebody, it's like, what do we want them to do, right? It's like we want them to pay attention and listen and learn, but we also want them to show initiative, ask intelligent questions, draw conclusions, not only learn about like the specific thing that you might be working on, but to gain a sense of how does a business operate? How do you work with people, with all these different personalities and all these different types of people? How do you negotiate and navigate? How do you deal with somebody that bothers you? Or how do you deal with someone that you really need more time from them and then they just can't give it to you, right? You know, so much about a successful person is somebody that finds that balance. But it's like we want people that are interested in advancing, you know, not just themselves, but just advancing in general, you know, improving, growing, getting better, setting standards, uplifting other people. You know, we have a rule here, I for blame, we for credit, right? Just learning how to talk. You know, if you promote yourself or if you think a lot of yourself, there's a good chance that that is not the, oh, thank you. If you're really about you're going to go a lot slower in life, and you're going to take a lot more time to learn really important lessons. You know, I was a know-it-all at the age of 25. I knew it all, you know. And then I realized I didn't, but then I turned 26 and now I knew it all, right? And I get all red-faced if somebody disagreed with me because I just knew. I have that personality type. And then same with 27. And then by the age of 28, I realized, man, I don't know anything, right? Because I'd been beat up enough over 4 years or 5 years. And I realized being a know-it-all is a very sad state and place to be, because it means you're not going to learn anything from anybody. You know, you have to be open. You have to be willing to grow. You have to show initiative. You have to demonstrate an ability to pay attention to the details, but not get lost in them. You know, it's interesting. If you want to go from being an intern, you know, to being an engineer, to being an engineering manager, right, then to be a chief technology officer and then be the CEO, that's probably a 30-year journey, right? And when you see the journey in front of you, it looks long and far away. But when you're looking back, you don't know where the time went. You know, I never imagined myself being a COO. I just wanted to do the work. I just enjoyed the work. And I wanted to be treated fairly, and I wanted my ideas to be listened to, and I wanted to be challenged. I certainly don't want to be right all the time, because that's really super not interesting at all, right? But what do you think, Meredith?
I agree with everything that's been said. The one thing that I always really try to teach the interns and then those that are young is that this is the only time in your life where you can be ignorant and get away with it. Be naive and you can get away with it. I always told Audra that a lot in the beginning. I said, Audra, yeah, just start asking as many questions as you can, because you can act dumb, because no one's going to expect anything out of you just yet. And she was able to unravel the onions, peel back the layers of onions to solve some really deep problems, because she listened to everybody and asked what would seemingly, for someone that's been in the industry for quite some time, you know, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, but she got the opportunity to act like she didn't know what she was talking about. And so that's a really valuable skill to utilize to your advantage. Just ask so many questions, whether you think they're ridiculous or not, because those are going to open the doors and understand where the real problems are and how to solve it and how to actually problem solve and think outside the box. And don't rush. Life's too short. Enjoy what you're doing today. Don't worry about tomorrow. You know, you never know what tomorrow's going to hold. So focus on one step at a time. Focus on getting into a company and that has challenges. Don't focus on it for the fact that there's going to be money necessarily. Don't make choices based on money. Make choices based on opportunity and the opportunity to grow and the opportunity to enjoy what you want to do. And give it all your effort, because you will be rewarded. Kind of like Dr. Seuss, 100% of the.
I know, so witnessing growth in young people, right? When Audra and I first met when she was an intern, we had a bit of a frustrating relationship. And I judged her very quickly, and she didn't have the benefit of her body of work to demonstrate what kind of person she was, and she felt I mischaracterized her. Flash forward to 2 years later, or no, it's 3 years, right? Because it would have been 3 years because you did a year as an intern.
With an intern, 3 years.
Flash forward to 3 years later, I'm running into her in the hall and I'm saying, Audra, we need to blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you know, Todd, I'm not going to do that because I don't need 3 months from now you to come back and say blah, 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 right? I mean, you know, she's understands the politics. She's like, no, I'm not going to skip this part because I know you're just going to come back later and say, well, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? And, you know, it's been very interesting to watch her learn how to negotiate, not just the technical challenges, which we have a lot of, because we're trying to be the best at what we do in the world, but just demystify the people and the political processes and understand what people want, right? Audra, I'm curious, what do you feel right now?
Yeah.
What do you feel your future is? I'll put you on the spot. What's your future?
So I don't know if this probably sounds kind of bad. I don't know if I have a plan, because I don't know if you can with the pace that the electronics industry is moving right now, which is what drew me to this industry. You know, at Michigan Tech, where I graduated with my degree in chemical engineering, the huge industry that chemical engineers get pushed to is paper and consumer products. You know, we're out in the Midwest. You have the Fox River Valley down in Wisconsin. That's where all the big names are. Georgia Pacific, P&G, Kimberly-Clark. That's who comes up to recruit. So I went through 4 years of school thinking that's where I want to go. Then I did an internship at Calumet, and I was like, this is way more interesting than toilet paper, because in 2 years, who knows what we're going to be building compared to if I went to work in toilet paper. Toilet paper is toilet paper. You know, they might try to sell you, we've got a new product here that's more absorbent, but it's the same thing. Electronics changes so quickly. So, you know, when I started, I was a process engineer, and I was happy to do that. And then the industry was moving so quickly that my skill set was needed kind of to shift into this R&D focus. And I didn't have a plan to do that. You know, I thought I'd like to be in R&D someday, but I want a couple more years or many more years in process engineering to learn more and get more under my belt, you know, kind of be able to look at the problems of R&D with more experience under me. But the time wasn't there. You have to kind of strike while the iron is hot. And that's what it is right now in the domestic industry. We need these solutions now, not 5 years down the road when I might be ready. So it kind of shifted. I had to shift into R&D. So I think I've focused less now on where I want my career to go and more on what I want my career to be. I want to feel challenged. I want to feel like I'm contributing. So if I ever get to a point in this new role where I feel like I'm not challenged or I'm not making enough progress, then maybe it'll be time to think about how to shift. But I feel like as long as I am feeling challenged and getting that opportunity to make systematic changes, I think I'll be satisfied in my career. So.
Do you feel, Audra, do you feel, still putting you on the spot, do you feel that the company that you've chosen to work for acknowledges or rewards you, or you know, because at the end of the day, we're middle-class Americans and we're working for a living, right? And we don't go to a job to do it for free. We go to a job to be compensated. We go to a job to build a career. We go to a job to advance ourselves and our families. At the end of the day, you just want to do a little better every year in many categories. Do you feel that the company has acknowledged you, or is meeting, it's a delicate question, right? Is meeting your expectations? How is the company doing in meeting your expectations based on, you know, your contributions? And
so I definitely feel like the company is meeting my needs. You know, to bring it back to something Meredith said, it can't be about the money always. And I think if you do choose for your career to be about the money, it's understandable, but you might not be satisfied in the end. So to be quite frank, Calumet was not my highest offer when I was coming out of school.
not by a long shot.
But it was the offer that excited me the most, because it was the offer that I saw the most potential to grow in. I saw an opportunity to kind of get in on the ground floor, because to me, this company is going to be going places in the next, you know, it's going places now, but like even more in the next 5 years. And I felt like I could add to that as part of my career here. So the company, while they may not have met my needs or with the initial money, you know, it was enough. Anything out of school is more than you were making in school, right? It met my needs with the challenges. So to me, I really liked Calumet because I wasn't just another cog in the wheel. It wasn't just a number and here's your box, operate in this box. You're an engineer of this one line and that's all you do. Because I know there are people I graduated with that are in that position now. They've got their one line, they just work out the problems on that line. So I think the company met my needs by, you know, they gave me a small box to start in. And then once they saw I could fulfill those needs, all right, well, here's some more. How about this? Try this. And so I think that was what I really wanted, was challenges. And I definitely gotten my share of challenges.
Don't underestimate when she says she got more opportunities. It's like, no, we needed help desperately in certain project areas, and she had we absolutely rely and she has become a pillar of this organization in just a couple of years, and we absolutely rely on what she does. And I don't know if she mentioned, she talked about taking more of a role in R&D, but she also, when COVID hit and we were one of the few companies that could make circuit boards for COVID ventilators in the country. We made something like 238,000 circuit boards in just a couple of months. Audra dropped all of her engineering work and she went on second shift and she just kept one of our primary processes running. It almost broke her. You know, and I look at those as, you know, we're talking emotionally breaks you down because they're so challenging. And she doesn't see it yet because she's young, but those are the career or character developing experiences that actually forge you into the person that you're going to be in the future. But I'm going to share a screen real quick here. I just want to show you something else interesting.
Todd, also, we're going to turn it over for questions quickly. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Also, Audra has found herself. Am I sharing this screen?
Yeah. Yep.
You see a picture?
Yeah.
Okay. This is actually the acting administrator of the Small Business Administration who came to visit us, right? And Audra has found herself in some interesting situations. I don't know if this is big enough for you to see. I don't know that making it bigger on my computer does anything. But you'll see right here that this is the White House. Here is.
Oh, Todd, you can't see it.
You're gonna advance your
still
slide.
sharing the picture.
It didn't advance when I changed it?
No.
Okay, I'll stop sharing and I'll share it again. This will be slow, but it should work. Share. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, you can see that this is the White House. This is President Trump. There's Ivanka Trump. There's Audra sitting in the White House talking about what needs to happen in the electronics workforce. So this is the CEO of Lockheed Martin, and these are various other people that were brought in. I bet you if I advance, it's not going to change. So I'm just going to show you one more here, if I can quickly bring it up. So I wish the software was a little bit better. Here's the one I'm looking for. I'm going to share this. Here it comes. So this is actually Audra presenting Ivanka Trump with a coin that basically acknowledges, you know, some good has come out of the administration on the business level for us. And personal politics aside, you know, Audra and Meredith in the past has done an excellent job representing us at the White House. So that's also an interesting aspect to the job that she's made some sacrifices to stop what she's doing and go out and represent the company and some of these things which are potentially meaningful for us as a company. Okay, Meredith, I'm done.
I'm going to jump in here if you don't mind. That's a really cool story, and when we send a follow-up to the students, we'll include some links to that. So we're going to transition to some Q&A now that some of the attendees have a feel for who does what and knows more about what Calumet does. We welcome some questions. We have a couple to start with, so I'll just ask them if they're directed at someone. I will make note of that. So this is from one of the students. I will be taking up roles as a process engineer or industrial engineer after my graduation. May I know from Miss Audra what a day in the working life of hers looks like?
Which day?
So that's what I really love about manufacturing. That's why I chose to go into manufacturing, is that you really never know what your day is going to look like. Because some days you come in and everything is running fine, and some days you come in and stuff has hit the fan and you have limited time to get machines back up and running. So I would say if you enjoy kind of the stress and the high pressure, you're really going to enjoy your role as a process engineer and industrial engineer. And one recommendation I would give that my professors always gave to me is really get out on the floor and get familiar with the people running the equipment and the managers operating that equipment, because they're going to know way more than you ever will about how those machines run, and they're going to be incredibly valuable to you. So that's, you know, Todd talks about when I started as an intern, I was very quiet. I'm quiet when people meet me, but one of the strengths that I think I had is I was able to kind of make friends with a lot of the operators and managers, which, you know, might not be expected from someone of my demeanor, but that has been my strength that I've leaned on, because that's how you find out how things are going on the floor. You know, we've had processes before where you're like, how is this process running wrong? And then you finally unravel it and you find out some guy decided he would start doing this, and you would have never found that out if you didn't have the trust of the people around you.
Very good, thank you very much. And another for whoever would like to answer. As a mechanical engineer, and we do have quite a few IPC student members across the country who are mechanical engineers, what skills should one know, and just in general, how does their education translate into a career in the electronics industry?
I'm going to field this one and then feel free to interrupt me. Process engineering in the PCB industry is not just chemical engineering, and it's actually really not much of electrical engineering either. It is a combination of a mechanical engineering and like photolithography processes combined with wet chemical processes. We hire chemical engineers to manage, maintain, continuously improve, develop our CNC processing. And this CNC processing is very unique to the industry and is high precision. We're drilling holes that are 3 mils wide. That's 3/1000ths of an inch with lasers. I feel like Austin Powers, laser, right? And so that's what a lot of our mechanical engineers are doing, is trying to optimize those processes and develop new processes to create holes to move current through the board, fan out the current. Additionally, we also have mechanical engineers who are working on material properties. Printed circuit boards, they seem very simple when you hold them, but it's an advanced amalgamation of all sorts of additive, subtractive processes based on substrates. And these substrates have different epoxies, different ceramics, different Teflon-based materials, so they can have high frequency, high signal integrity. And so we have mechanicals running materials, making sure they press correctly to build these boards. So there's a lot of opportunity as a mechanical engineer. But what Audra says and what the team says is the same characteristics you need: someone who wants to jump in and solve the problems and think outside the box and really drive forward and be passionate about your job.
When you graduate with an engineering degree, it doesn't matter if it's in civil or mechanical or electrical or chemical. We don't care. Sure, it's nice when we got somebody that can do the occasional, formula on the whiteboard or something like that. But what matters is, by graduating with a degree, you demonstrated that you can process technical information, that you can, interface with other humans, that you can write, that you can listen, that you can fail and then overcome and succeed. Graduating with a degree, I don't know if I've ever used my electrical engineering degree. Believe me, being an electrical engineer does not make you an electrician. Don't go wire your own house, right? Because being an electrician is about code, understanding code. It's not about that you get how the current is going to move through the copper, which it does, by the way, on the surface, which is going to be important in the high frequency applications in the future. But really, Meredith has demonstrated to me time and time again that the value of a degree is the fact that you can think, that you can be logical, that you can process, you can break big problems down into small problems, that you can persevere. Meredith once told me that her PhD, it was as much of Meredith, like a test of character and fortitude. And what I realized, I hired Meredith because she was really good at a sled dog race, and she blew my mind. And what I realized is Meredith Lebeau is going to be good at anything she applies herself to. And boy, we need help, right? And she's done exactly that.
Not wiring my house though.
Yeah. I'll come over and wire your house after work. We'll see what happens. But so remember, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, neat. Super neat. If you learned a whole bunch of theory, really neat. You built the neural structure in your brain to logically solve problems. That's what's important.
Very good, thank you. And we have one that's a little older. So Audra touched on it earlier, but why should someone consider joining the PCB industry compared to other options out there? Or electronics, whatever topic you'd like to.
Well, as Justin Timberlake always says, we're bringing sexy back. Oh,
Yeah.
I always say that because it gets a laughter out of people, but I deeply believe, and I did not, when I woke up and grew up, I never thought I'd be in the PCB industry. I mean, I went and got a PhD for gosh sakes, and now I'm in the PCB industry. That's a funny story in itself, but it's opportunity. And it is developing cutting edge solutions that are going to propel forward. There's not a lot of industries currently today that are at the forefront of the conversation at the DoD, at the forefront of how do we educate workforce, that there's vast amounts of opportunity to be who you want to be and to develop who you want to do and define your own career. There's a lot of other places you could go and you're just going to be a cog in the wheel, as Audra said, and that's not what the PCB industry is offering today.
I feel like Audra told me a story a long time ago that her family and friends frowned a little bit on her choice of company to go with a small PCB manufacturer. And we're not actually that small. We do about 32 million a year. But I feel like they kind of, they're like, I don't know, Audra, you really need to get out there and make diapers really fast. That's the career for you. And when I heard that story, I said, well, aren't we going to prove them wrong, right? So Audra is literally working with some of the most advanced technologies in the country and bringing them to market. I mean, if that's not opportunity, I don't know what is. Electronics, we haven't seen anything yet with where we're going with electronics and the phones we're going to be carrying in our pockets and how cars are going to be driving around and the technologies that are going to protect our country and other countries from missiles being lobbed, in the aerospace technologies that are out there. You know, we're just beginning to understand the science and unraveling the physics and the electromagnetics and high frequency. Where we're going is crazy. I don't know what kind of world my kids are going to grow up in. They're young. They're like ages 8 to 11. They're going to be in a very different world. And we're either going to be victims of that world and we're going to live by somebody else's rules, or we are going to shape what that world is going to look like, and we're going to participate. And that's what we're doing. We are realizing we are taking ideas and turning them into concrete products. And that's a beautiful thing to be doing right now, I think.
Fantastic, thank you. We just had another question pop in about recycling PCBs. Is Calumet doing any research, or how do you guys work with that?
Should I do that for the environmentalist?
Yeah, I guess. So you have to kind of break it down. You can't just think about PCBs from our perspective as a whole, right? So what are we doing? We have recycling of water, treating water. And there is a lot of advancements going on about how to run a PCB shop with recycled water. There's some early papers and papers that were developed in the 60s talking about zero waste. We are not initially active in that, but there is still a lot of information regarding that if you're interested in the waste proposition. We also recycle all of our scrap here. We recycle it to recover the copper, to recover the gold. We take our etchant that we use to etch away the copper, and we actually put it in, deliver it, and they use it in chicken feed because they need the ammonia for it and the copper as a metal. So there is some recycling going on here, but we're not actively taking any of our boards back to recycle.
But there are things like RoHS and REACH. The EU is actually much more environmentally in tune and ahead than the United States is. But since we build products and our customers build products that go into the EU, you know, we offer lead-free products and a number of, we do pay attention to things like conflict minerals, and we have policies and all those things. So there's a lot going on that is trying to manage the hazardous wastes that come out of the PCB industry. But where we sit in the supply chain, it's not like we make disposable circuit board or biodegradable circuit boards or something. That would be interesting. That dissolve or anything like that over time. But those are real interesting things. Michigan Tech has some research going on that is looking at the entire life cycle of a product from raw materials, you know, back to raw materials, which is interesting. So there's some really great research going on at Michigan Tech down the road on that.
Okay, well, we've just hit an hour. I'm gonna start to wrap us up. Yeah, no more questions in the chat or the Q&A. So I'd just like to really thank everybody at Calumet. We appreciate your time and effort. What can people do to stay in touch moving forward?
We're easily accessible through our website. I do see one more question. It says, do you perform advanced reliability tests on PCBs? Mm-hmm. Every day. Every day. One of our customers just got done telling us today, and we've heard this before, is we don't buy circuit boards. We buy microsection test results, right? Testing. The amount of testing we do here is absolutely incredible. And third-party labs that we work with and source auditors that come in and they'll test it before you can ship a product. Everything is about testing. So I just want to make sure that there was an answer to that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.
There's also a lot of advancements in testing coming forward too, and we're actually thinking about trying to find a senior design project at Michigan Tech that would help develop our next resistance testing features. So yes, we are looking at all the things that are needed to develop the technology and make sure it's still robust and reliable for especially the DoD warfighter.
We can be found through our website. I believe there's some contact information on there if you want to write to any of us. We're happy to answer any questions or any comments. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this presentation and join the electronics industry. Please, we need you badly. Huge opportunities for careers. If you keep your head on straight and you do the work, we need you. So I don't know. Go domestic electronics industrial base.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Todd. Thanks, Charlene and
Thank
Paige.
you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
everyone. Have a great
Take care.
day.
Bye.
Bye.